seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Oh.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for
So right here from day one, we used to wake up and, pause, but like just back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the frosted flakes, you know what I'm saying, before pause was invented, you know what I'm saying, but it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the frosted flakes because he used to always get up early with me. Now he's one of the richest stars.
I mentioned that earlier, that he said about Stevie J. The Usher part, that's a touchy situation, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a certain feeling and I felt a certain way when Usher got on Shay Shay, and I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business, right? I know, and people know, that was around that in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the high.
Curious, I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Uh-huh.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans, Jodeci, Mary J. Blige. They didn't know nothing about that.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like,
what
like a living.
Life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to puppy camp?
Yeah, okay.
One step at a time.
But yeah, the keys is yours when you get 16. You good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Then when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay. I get the mansion?
Yeah.
All right. So where are we off to now?
Where would you like to go?
Wherever you want to go. Where are we going?
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher.
Let's be honest. This story has gone way past celebrity drama and straight into something much deeper, much darker, and way more unsettling than anyone expected. What started as whispers about tension between Usher and Justin Bieber has now spiraled into explosive allegations, resurfaced clips, and questions about what really happened behind the scenes when Justin was just a teenager. And now, with Nicki Minaj being pulled into the conversation and fans practically begging her to speak out, people are starting to wonder, was that heated moment at Beyoncé's party just the breaking point, or the beginning of everything coming to light? It all reportedly kicked off at one of the most exclusive rooms you could imagine, Beyoncé's party, with a guest list alone tells you this wasn't just any night, it was the room to be in. But behind all the glamour, insiders say something fell off almost immediately between Usher and Justin Bieber. People noticed it before a single word was even exchanged. The body language, the distance, the tension that didn't quite match the celebratory vibe. Then, out of nowhere, Usher reportedly made the first move, approaching Justin with what witnesses described as energy and visible frustration. What followed wasn't just a quick check-in or awkward small talk. It escalated into a heated exchange that had people across the room subtly turning their heads, trying not to stare, but absolutely paying attention. The kind of moment where conversations quiet down just enough for curiosity to take over. Some say voices were raised. Others claim it looked like it could have turned physical if not for the setting and the high-profile crowd. And while nothing has been officially confirmed beyond a verbal confrontation, the consensus is clear. This wasn't random. This felt like something that had been building for a long time, finally spilling out in a space where neither of them expected it to happen. But here's where the story starts to split, because depending on who you listen to, the why behind that confrontation couldn't be more different. From Usher's perspective, there's reportedly a growing frustration that's been simmering for a while now. Sources claim he feels like Justin has been pulling away, not just physically, but emotionally, keeping his distance in a way that reads as cold or even dismissive. And for Usher, that hits deeper than people might realize. This is someone who played a major role in Justin's early career, who helped open doors, made industry connections, and stood behind him when he was still finding his footing. So now, from that lens, the tension isn't just about one party or one night. It's about what Usher allegedly sees as a lack of appreciation, a lack of loyalty, maybe even a sense that history is being overlooked. To him, this confrontation wasn't out of nowhere. It was the result of built-up emotions finally reaching a point where they couldn't be ignored anymore. But then you hear the other side, and suddenly the narrative shifts completely. Because according to sources close to Justin, this isn't about disrespect at all. It's about distance with intention. They're saying Justin hasn't been pulling away out of arrogance or disregard, but because of something much deeper and far more personal. Allegedly, there are unresolved feelings tied to his early years in the industry, feelings that haven't fully been addressed and may never have been. And at the center of that is this growing claim that Justin didn't feel protected during a time when he was most vulnerable. That the people who were supposed to guide him, support him, and shield him from certain environments may not have done so in the way he needed. So from this perspective, that moment at the party wasn't about attitude. It was about unspoken history, about pain that doesn't just disappear, even after years of success, fame, and distance. And that's the part that really stops people in their tracks. Because when you rewind the timeline, Usher wasn't just another name in Justin's network. He was the cosign, the bridge between a young, unknown talent and the global stage. He helped introduce Justin to the industry, helped shape his early image, and was seen as a mentor figure during some of the most formative years of his career. So now, with all these questions coming up, people are starting to look back differently. If there were cracks in that foundation, if there were moments where things didn't feel right, then what was actually happening behind the scenes? What did that mentorship really look like beyond the cameras, beyond the performances, beyond a success story everyone was sold? And this is exactly where the conversation starts to widen beyond just the two of them. Because once people started digging, they didn't stop at Usher and Justin. They began pulling in other names, other moments, other clips that suddenly felt different. One of the biggest points of focus has been Sean Diddy Combs, especially that resurfaced 48 hours video where teenage Justin was shown spending time under his supervision. At the time, it was framed as something exciting, almost like a rite of passage, an opportunity for a young artist to be around industry power. But now, with everything else being discussed, people are rewatching that footage with a completely different lens. The tone, the dynamics, the things that were said or not said are all being reanalyzed in ways they weren't before. And once those clips started circulating again, the narrative didn't just continue, it escalated. Because now it wasn't just about a disagreement at a party anymore. It became about patterns, about timelines, about piecing together moments that may have seemed harmless individually but feel heavier when placed side by side. Online discussions exploded with theories, old rumors resurfaced, and suddenly people were asking whether Justin's current behavior, his distance, his guarded nature, the way he moves now, could be connected to experiences from that earlier period in his life. Whether there are chapters of his story that haven't fully been told, or maybe haven't been understood. And at that point, the conversation stopped being simple gossip and started turning into something much more layered, much more complicated, and honestly much harder to ignore. Then comes another layer. And this is where the story starts to feel even more complicated, because you can't talk about what allegedly happened with Justin Bieber without also looking at Usher's own past. Over the years, Usher has made comments in interviews that, at the time, seemed vague or easy to brush off, little hints about the kind of environment he was exposed to as a teenager coming up in the industry. He's talked about being very young, being placed in rooms with powerful people, and witnessing things that he didn't fully understand back then. And now, with everything being re-examined, those old statements are being pulled back into the spotlight and looked at through a completely different lens. People are starting to ask whether Usher himself was navigating situations he wasn't prepared for, whether he was exposed to dynamics that shaped how he later moved in the industry. And that raises an uncomfortable question. If someone comes up in an environment where certain lines are blurred, does that change how they see those same situations later on? Some are speculating that what Usher experienced may have influenced how he handled Minna and Justin, not necessarily out of malice, but possibly because those patterns felt normalized at the time. It doesn't answer anything definitively, but it adds a layer that makes the entire situation feel less black and white and a lot more complex. Meanwhile, as all of this unfolds, Nicki Minaj's name just keeps getting louder in the conversation. Fans have been flooding her comments, tagging her nonstop, and practically demanding that she speak out about what she's allegedly hinted at before regarding the darker side of the industry, especially when it comes to young artists and what they may be exposed to behind closed doors. And it's not coming out of nowhere. Over the past few months, Nicki has made cryptic remarks that many people believe were aimed at calling out certain behaviors and power structures in the entertainment world. She hasn't named names, but the timing of those statements, paired with everything that's now resurfacing, has people connecting dots and looking to her as someone who might confirm what others are only speculating about. Whether she actually steps in and says anything directly is still up in the air, but the fact that so many people are turning to her for answers shows just how big this story has become. It's no longer contained to rumors or fan theories. It's turning into a wider conversation about the industry itself. And now, here we are, right in the middle of it all. Usher has reportedly tried to downplay the situation, suggesting that things are being exaggerated or taken out of context, while Justin Bieber continues to keep his distance, staying relatively quiet and letting the speculation swirl around him. But if there's one thing that's clear, it's that the internet is not ready to let this go anytime soon. Because at this point, it's not just about what happened at that party, or even about the relationship between these two artists. It's about years of moments that are now being revisited, clips that are being reanalyzed, and questions that people feel were never fully answered. The conversation has shifted from gossip to something that feels bigger, heavier, and far more significant. People want clarity, they want accountability, and most of all, they want to understand the truth behind what really went on. So now the question isn't just what happened that night. It's whether that moment was simply a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control, or the first real crack in a story that's been hidden in plain sight for years.